Shalom, what's going on, everybody? Shabbat shalom. I hope you all are having a restful Sabbath. Today, we are simulcasting on Facebook and YouTube for a change. I think, for those of you who are new to the show, we do the Hebrew Woman Show every Sabbath. And the purpose of this channel is for us to explore our biblical principles. This is a Torah grounded platform for women by women. And here we just talk about how we use our biblical principles in everyday living, just trying to apply the work and trying to live a Christ centered life, what that walk looks like, and how, and most of the time we have these conversations from a leadership perspective. And just like on the Renaissance Woman show, how lately we've been talking about navigating hostile systems, navigating hostile work environments, toxic workspaces, and how to deal with that and come on the other side healthy. We talk about a little bit of everything here. One of the guiding principles that I always talk about every show, like these first 5 or 6 slides that you see, I talk about these every day because every show because these slides are how I balance my week. So when I come out at the end of the day or at the end of the week, when if I'm journaling like I want to, 2 Corinthians 13 and 5 is one of the guiding principles that I use. 2 Corinthians 13 and 5 says, examine yourselves, whether ye be in the faith, prove your own selves. Know ye not your own selves how Christ is in you, except ye be reprobates? So I'm always asking myself, am I moving with a Christ mind? Am I being as centered and balanced as I can because the Bible says that a just weight is a delight to the Lord. So for me, Zell, I'm sorry, guys, look at me like I'm all over the place because I'm simulcasting today. I am your host, Renaissance Woman, aka Ren Judah, and I'm here with my co-host, Zell. Zell, what you gonna do
Yeah,
with me, girl?
I do not even know. I don't know, but it's gonna be all right. We're gonna get there.
And I don't know why I'm a little nervous about talking on Facebook. I think because primarily most of the shows we do on face YouTube, and I know what that looks like. So with this being on Facebook, I don't know what this looks like, and I'm doing it on from one of my main pages. Uh, there is a Hebrew Woman Show page. If you haven't, please go like, share, and subscribe to it because right now I can't go live on that channel because no up on that page because I just opened it, and so Facebook has a requirement in order for you to go live on that Facebook page, it has to have so many people. So that's why we're broadcasting on the Ren Judah page, which I'm fine with that as well. So and like, share, and subscribe here as well, and follow and do the same on YouTube. And I will, after the show, I will put all the links to all of the channels and pages in the description. So back to our slide here. So Zell, I was just saying though that you know how we always lead with these scriptures, and so I was thinking today, like for you, what are your guiding scriptures that you use?
Ooh,
When
that's actually a tough one because a lot depends on what I have going on in my life. It can be anything from, and I'm trying to actually remember the specific scriptures because I don't right off the top of my head, but definitely, is it John 14? Um,
and I'm putting you on
in
the
my
spot,
house,
and
there are
I'll
many
just say,
mansions. If it were
yeah,
not so, I
I
would have
will.
told you. I can't remember which one it is, but anyway.
Listen, I will let you. We will talk about that next week, like your go-to
Okay.
everyday scriptures. I did just put you on the spot because the reason why I know these is because
Mhm.
I have them on a slideshow, and I've actually taken the time to work on building this
Oh
philosophy
yeah.
out. So, but like but I think most women, we always go to that Proverbs 31, being a Proverbs
Right.
31 woman, and just we want to, but I went to Titus, that's one of mine. And
Mhm.
one of the purposes of what we do here is we train ourselves to think biblically, not emotionally. And that doesn't mean that we don't get upset and we don't have feelings because, as you can see, Ephesians 4 and 26 says what? Be ye angry and sin not. Let not the sun go down upon your wrath. So nobody's telling you you're not allowed. The Bible even telling you, hey, yeah, get mad. But you better watch yourself.
Mm.
Matthew 10 and 16, be ye therefore wise as serpents and harmless as doves. So that means to make sure you are, again, as we always refer to Titus, behaving in behavior that becometh holiness. We are emotional creatures. We can have emotional, but we have to make sure we are still following and keeping God's word. Galatians 5 and 22 says, emotion, when we talk about being emotional in the spirit, the fruits of the spirit are love, joy, peace, long suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. So those are the attributes when we talk about that we want to try to embody and we want to move with. We're going to move with emotionalism. We want those to be the attributes and virtues that we use to guide us, you know. So we're not saying don't feel. We're just saying, hey, make sure you stay in alignment and make sure you
Mm.
get yourself in order, you know. Here's my reference here, my go-to scripture for the behavior that we all should be embodying. And as I always say, you know, the men are just as responsible in engaging in this behavior as the women. That's why you see I love Titus because Titus really does address the conduct of the body of Christ. And for Titus 2:1 through 5, it says, but speak thou things which become sound doctrine. So that is an important phrase because that means some of you have a tendency to be running around here lying, making things up. When it even comes to the Bible, you want to twist and manipulate it to your own. Well, God know my heart. That's the one that really gets me. No, God knows what His
Mm.
Word says. He knows what His laws are and what He told you to do. And there are many people. What do they say? The pathway to hell is paved with good intentions. Are you being obedient? What do you say? Obedience is better than sacrifice. So knowing your heart has nothing to do with you being disobedient. And yes, we do all sin and we all fall short, but we're in an age where we can't even acknowledge it. We want to.
Mm.
That is your immediate go-to when someone tries to hold you accountable, which we're going to get to. Why you want to surround yourself. Like when we talk about the women of Titus, see how these women are there. You need to surround yourself with women who are going to support you and help you and make sure you stay on task. It says, but speak thou things which become sound doctrine, that the aged men be sober, grave, temperate, sound in faith, in charity, and in patience. The aged women likewise, that they be in behavior that becomes holiness, not false accusers, not giving too much wine, teachers of good things. So the behavior is for the men and the women. You should be sober, grave, temperate, sound in faith and charity. You should be patient. And Lord knows, I always have to talk about how impatient I can be, and just really working on that. And this one thing about your faith walk, it's a lifelong journey. And I think one of the things that keeps a lot of people from practicing faith is the idea that I'll come when I achieve perfection. Well, if you keep waiting until you get it right, you will never serve the Lord. But there are things that you can do right now. And are you a person who's a liar, being a false accuser? Do you drink too much? Not giving to too much wine. You can't. If you, the Bible says to be watchful and be ye also ready. You can't
Mm.
be watchful and ready if you drunk. It says teachers of good things. Who is going to listen to you teach if you're not sober, grave, temperate, sound in faith, in charity, in patience? Nobody wants to be around people who are I'm like, you're here to serve, and I will have to go to that. If you could find it for me, Google it real quick. If you don't, go back to it. How the Bible says that we're supposed to be apt to teach. You are supposed to be ready and willing to teach at all times. You can't teach if you're not behaving in behavior that becometh holiness. Okay, so That's why I lead with these scriptures. And when I talk about Proverbs 11 and 14, where no counsel is, the people fall, but in the multitudes of counselors, there is safety. You need to have wise men and women around you. Are your friends? Is your spouse? Are you a fool? Are you dealing with fools? There's no safety in that. And you know what, Zell? I'm gonna
Hmm.
tell you something. That makes me think of, I always say instances, but even with this recent Nolan Wells situation, are you teaching your kids discernment, how to know when they are around people who are wise counselors and who are going to be there for you? Because the friends that he was in counsel with, they did not ensure his safety. You hear me?
Mm.
Shanquilla Robinson, her friends did not ensure her safety. She was not in the company of wise people. So that's something to think about. So, but before we get all the way into our lesson, I always have to give the thoughts and views expressed on this channel are my own. They do not belong into any entity or organization, agency, company, or business that I may be affiliated with. The commentary here, especially when we're talking about workplace issues or anything in general. This is not legal advice. These are, if you are having issues, you need to seek a counselor. We're not therapists here. If you need to talk to somebody, you can email us at sister7@gmail.com. Being sister here to be apt to teach and help, we will help you try to find services if permitting in your area. But just, I think one of the main things is that you make sure you're taking care of yourself. And I'm going to come up with a little book of resources for people, numbers and outreach that you can, and other services that you can find to help you. But this channel is for us to fellowship together as women. This is not meant for you to take and run with it like, well, Red said, you need to, if you are dealing with legal issues, mental health issues, you need to get a lawyer. In a mental health case, you need to get you some counseling. This show offers education, commentary, and scriptural reflection. It is not individualized legal, medical, mental health, or pastoral advice. Examine the scriptures and seek the appropriate counsel for your own circumstance. Okay? So, what we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about the book of Habakkuk. And
Mm.
it it just came in due time because I feel like, when you're going through something, and, I've been talking about my own experience navigating a hostile work environment, and when you are being targeted, you feel like, what am I doing wrong? Why are the wicked people being upheld? Why are the wicked winning? That's how you feel. You feel like the wicked are winning. And so it is just crazy that Habakkuk fell on my lap to read today. And so I actually, it's a very, one of the shortest books. It's literally 8 minutes. So we're going to go ahead and listen, and we're going to stop as we go through fair use, where this is for educational purposes. We're going to go through this Zell and talk about it. Did you have
Sounds
anything to
good
add
to
before?
me.
Okay, let's get to it then.
Habakkuk, chapter 1. The burden which Habakkuk.
Can you hear it?
I do, but I do hear a bit of an echo.
Let me mute my mic.
Habakkuk, chapter 1. The burden which Habakkuk the prophet did see.
I didn't hear you say anything, so I guess you didn't hear it.
Oh, yeah, everything sounds good.
Okay.
O Lord, how. Habakkuk, chapter 1. The burden which Habakkuk the prophet did see. O Lord, how long shall I cry, and thou wilt not hear? Even cry out unto thee of violence, and thou wilt not save. Why dost thou show me iniquity, and cause me to behold grievance? For spoiling and violence are before me, and there are that raise up strife and contention. Therefore the law is slacked, and judgment doth never go forth. For the wicked doth compass about the righteous. Therefore wrong judgment proceedeth.
So here you in Habakkuk, you see him lamenting the fact that the wicked are flourishing. He's like, I'm looking around me and I'm seeing these people are prospering. Like, what is going on? Like, Lord, why are you showing me this? Why do I get to see this iniquity? And people of faith, if right now we're living in a world where you more than likely feel that way. You feel like when you're watching the news, all you see is crime. All you see is people stealing. You see even in the White House the things that you've never seen before in your generation. The president making his children billionaires, and the people are the insider trading, just the rampant misconduct, and it makes you feel like. And I've heard a lot of people say, "Why am I playing by the rules?" And this is basically the reason why we're here. Do you want to add anything?
No, not at all. But one thing well, I guess I do want to add something. One thing I was thinking about is it does get frustrating, especially when you see so many people that are doing the things that they're doing and they get away with it. And
And
it
so,
somehow
yeah,
is explained away. It's like or nobody notices it. It just gets dropped. And it's like, why is all this stuff happening? What's going on? And it's like the only people following the rules are the people, that end up being victims, and everybody else is getting away with stuff. But let's continue.
I think it's true. I think you feel like when you're playing by the rules, when you're doing what you're supposed to do, you feel like I'm doing all this. Like, even with car people, it could be something as, let's just keep it real with everyday issues as simple as car insurance. You're like, hey, my car is registered. I'm paying my taxes. Why am I seeing all these people driving around without plates and I'm doing the right thing? And so Habakkuk teaches us that it teaches us faith without pretense, because is your faith contingent on the good times, right? Is it contingent on being blessed all the time, things just constantly going our way? Faith does not require us to deny injustice, suppress hard questions, or pretend to feel is fruitful. So it would nobody. And listen, I know for me personally, when I'm going through all the cliches that people want to hand you, this is but a season. You don't want to hear that when you're in the middle of stuff. You don't want to hear that they'll get theirs and all that. You're like, no, I want it right now. But if you're keeping the faith, you'll keep turning to the Most High when you're facing these situations. So basically, what you see here, the book moves from burden to prayer, and what that positioning looks like. And I think this is why I say a lot of Christian churches and spiritual, even I think Muslims, I would just say period, um, when I talk about Muslims, I talk about Nation of Islam. I think they really, all the black led ministries, not all. Because I don't want somebody coming on here trying to argue with me. We do a bad job of teaching people prayer and meditation.
Hmm.
People don't know what that looks like, because when you're dealing with these things and when you're struggling and you're going through, we don't know how to sit in it. And that is part of the meditation practice that we don't know, that we're not taught that you're supposed to sit and endure. You're supposed to sit and feel it and work your way through it. And what you're going to actually watch Habakkuk, he's going to, not only is he sitting and he's contemplating these things, he's challenging God about them. He's asking God questions like, well, why are you allowing this? If you know why? So when we say it moves from burden to prayer, that is the position you're gonna watch him move through, because it's not going to be that the wickedness is going to disappear, or that things that in the world just suddenly got better for him. He trans. You're going to watch him transition through what that looks like in practice.
Behold ye among the heathen, and regard and wonder marvelously. For I will work a work in your days which ye will not believe, though it be told you.
Did you? Can you hear it?
It's a little bit low.
I can't turn it up any louder on my end. I think like
I'll
my
I may be able to turn it up on my end.
okay, but you could hear it.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so we're gonna continue. Um,
That bitter and hasty nation which shall march through the breadth of the land to possess the dwelling places that are not theirs. They are terrible and dreadful. Their judgment and their dignity shall proceed of themselves. Their horses also are swifter than the leopards, and are more fierce than the evening wolves. And their horsemen shall spread themselves, and their horsemen shall come from far. They shall fly as the eagle that hasteth to eat. They shall come all for violence. Their faces shall sup up as the east wind, and they shall gather the captivity as the sand. And they shall scoff at the kings, and the princes shall be a scorn unto them. They shall deride every stronghold, for they shall heap dust and take it. Then shall his mind change, and he shall pass over and offend, imputing this his power unto his God. Art thou not from everlasting, O Lord my God, mine Holy One? We shall not die. O Lord, thou hast ordained them for judgment, and Almighty God, thou hast established them for correction. Thou art of purer eyes than to behold evil, and canst not look on iniquity.
so I'm not gonna play the whole thing because I know for a lot of people it's like, what is he saying here? And actually, I'm gonna let Zell jump in here. Go ahead.
Oh no, no. I was listening to what you were about to say.
Okay, because I was going to see like so for me, I know a lot of times for a lot of people this can sound, and that's why it is good to have this new living translation if you have trouble understanding some of what he's saying. But he's just talking about how wicked the Chaldeans are and how they have all these things. They got these horses that are swift as leopards, and like it says, "Thou art pure eyes than to behold evil. Cast out now look on iniquity." He said, "Hey guys, I know you see this. Come and get them." Well, why they got, like basically he's saying they got it going on. Why are you
Hmm.
overlooking that? Why, and then you're going to use them to punish Israel. Why don't you deal with them? They're more wicked than we are. How come you won't deal with them treacherously? So let's see if I can get it to move to the next page. And he's going on about their behavior and how they burn incense and drag because their portion is not like he's just talking about how they basically the lament you see right here is that hey, why all these rappers got and people who I perceive as living a non-righteous life, why they got all this stuff? Why they got all the money? Why are they? They're not doing the right thing. They're not sacrificing. They're not living a God-centered life. But I'm down here. I'm doing it. That is what Habakkuk is saying. He is basically asking the Most High, what's going on? And I would suggest
Hmm.
you all read the chapter, even if you use the NIV it puts it in plain English to help you understand what's going on. So and you do need to read and just take the time to go through because I think you'll see yourself in a lot of these situations because and I can say like with my own situation, it really spoke to me today because I felt like, like David, Lord, many there be that rise up against me. And many are there that say of my soul, there is no help for her in God. I was feeling like these people are doing everything they can to try to take something away from me that I earned because they decided I shouldn't have it. And it looks like they're winning. They're getting all the things, all the glory, all the reward. And I'm suffering. And then I read Habakkuk, and it all came together for me, you know. And,
Hmm.
and so that dialogue that he's having with God, that complaint, and this is how you talk to the Most High. First, you talk to God like He's your friend, and you let Him know, hey, I'm crying out. So in chapter 1, he sees, he cries out, he wrestles with these things. You see him having the same lament that I think, especially, I don't know, when you watch a man talk about these things and struggle with that, like when they see the dope boys and all the stuff, and they're out here living a righteous life. So especially younger men, they are susceptible to that because it's like, hey, they got all the women, they got all the money, and I'm sitting here broke trying to do the right thing. I don't like the way that looks, and I don't like the way that feels. And I'm not saying I felt that way, but you see him wrestling with why are the Chaldeans, why are these and Babylonians, because he complained about Babylon as well. Why are they so prosperous? Why are they doing so well? And Israel, yeah, I know we're sinning, but dang, and now you're going to use them to chasten us? What about them, Lord?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it always feels like, but we're supposed to be the chosen ones. We're supposed
Yeah,
to be special. You love us more than you love them, right? Wait a minute.
and
So
that's
what's the
basically
benefit to this?
and that's what he's doing. Like, what is the benefit in serving you, Most High? If because I might if they I'm gonna have everything they got if I be wicked too then. So what is the purpose of all this? So you watches, he receives and he waits. So he asks the question, he receives God's word, and then he remembers and he trembles and he worships because the Most High let him know what you are seeing is only for a moment. So we have here, he saw violence. He had grievance with the strife and the contention and the corrupt judgment. He really laments into that. But I'm gonna play the whole book
Mm-hmm.
because the last time I tried to play one of Alexander Scorby videos, I got a copyright strike, and I still may have to
Oh.
deal with a strike for just the portion that I played. So I'm not gonna play, but I can contest it because again, it's fair use. I'm using this to be illustrative of a lesson here, and that larger lesson is it's not to play um, his content like that. The Bible isn't his content, but I get it. It's his voice. I just wanted to, and there may be, and I'll have to check and see if we can find another tool that'll play the audio when we need to. But anyway, he says in Habakkuk chapter 1, 3 through 4, why dost thou show me iniquity and cause me to behold grievance? And I think that's the question, again, so many of us wrestle with. Why do I have to be good? Why do I have to sit here and watch this stuff? Well, because watching requires discernment. And then
Mm-hmm.
observe without denial. Do not call dysfunction normal simply because it's common. So one of the things that he was lamenting about when you read the book is just how normalized the dysfunction is and just how rampant it was. Everybody is doing this type of stuff, and I don't see anything happening to them. And that is what we see today for those of us that are on a faith walk. We see the wicked being rewarded. We see people being able to engage in some of the most egregious behavior, and we often feel like they're winning. Look at them. They got all these subscribers for the people who are YouTubers, for people who are just everyday working Joe. You're looking at the White House right now, where you're like, look at them. They're enriching themselves. They're literally becoming billionaires. You've never seen a president enrich himself and his children in the way that you are seeing now. And this doesn't matter if you are a Republican or a Democrat. You should have a problem with that, whatever side of the aisle you fall on. Because and
Mm-hmm.
what it looks like to people is corruption is where it's at. And I don't know about you, but I feel like I'm kind of experiencing in just our workforce today, just every day. It seems like people now are more comfortable with just outright misconduct, outright lying, and I mean to the point where they're even willing to commit it to paper. And watching those things happen, especially if you're navigating a hostile work environment or if you are
Mm-hmm.
dealing with issues with your family and it comes to, because I noticed with death brings out a very ugly side of people. That's why you really want to make sure you have your business in order because you will see a side of people that you've never thought you'd see when it comes to things.
Yeah.
So he identifies that conduct and the consequences, and he just seems like he couldn't get it. You want to add anything?
But this is why I think what this does, and it's really bringing us to stop and think about, is it really makes you think about, or at least for me, it makes me think about what I actually value and why.
Hmm.
Why am I doing what I do? And do I actually value those things? Um, are do you value the material? Are we valuing their materialistic stuff? Or the hardships that we're going through now? Do we not see there are lessons that are going to be learned in that? And while you're focusing on somebody else, maybe you need to focus on the lesson that you've been learning right now in whatever it is you're going through. What do don't worry about what the rest of the world is dealing with. Focus on what you're getting from what you're getting right now, and what lessons you need to learn, what changes you need to make, what growth you need to have happen in your life. Focus on you and yours. And don't worry about looking at what everybody else has going on. Because at the end of the day, you're only on the outside looking in. You don't really know what they have going on and what they're going to suffer, because God is not mocked.
Exactly.
It's so
You hit.
yeah, they're not going to get away with anything when it's all said and done. And
And
I mean,
so,
if it's genuine. Hmm.
yeah, no, and that is why, like, when you talk about being watchful, so Habakkuk is a leader, and we talk about leadership over here. This is another reason why I thought this was a great chapter to go with, because even if you're in a leadership position at work, or even just the average employee, you have to switch your position. And a watchful leader must also watch yourself. So he has to, not only do you need to be watchful and pay attention to what's going on around you, but you need to check your own conduct. So when you see him in this position while he's asking God these questions, he's not being disrespectful. He's not being disobedient. He's coming to him in supplication, and he's asking him, and he is prepared for correction. So that's what's so important about this, the posture that he takes on here. And I want you to hear this, because we live in an age now where nobody wants to be corrected. Nobody wants to be accountable. And I don't know if you, as a person in leadership as well, Zell, had experienced this in the workplace. You will hold for their behavior. And a lot of people today, they are just like children. When you hold them accountable, they go over your head. And depending on how your organization is arranged, if it's structured properly, if their grievance is just, the leadership should come and give you the correction about how you're treating the employees. However, if your correction of of the employee is proper and it is the rules, you should be supported. I think a just weight is a just balance. That's how it works. Because when we go and we appeal to God, like my husband, let's say I feel like my husband is wrong about something. Well, if I'm bold enough to say, well, I'm going to go to the Most High about it, I need to make sure I'm right. Because now you're playing games with authority. And as like you just said, God is not to be mocked. So even when you take that position, right? So this is
Hmm.
something that I have to wrestle with. Even when I take the position, I don't think this is right. I'm going to go complain. I have to leave room for correction.
Hmm.
Now, if the correction doesn't come, then you take the next appropriate action. But if they say you're wrong and this is why you're wrong, and but a lot of times if you're talking about toxic spaces, that doesn't happen. And I can honestly say in my situation, well, we're not going to talk about my situation anyway. The point I'm making is you can even be validated. And I think that happens a lot. You can be gaslit
Hmm.
to the point and told, you know what, you're right, that shouldn't be happening, and nothing happens. And that is another level of, it feels like defeat. It feels like, well, God, I'm serving you, trying to do the right thing. You said this is the way it's supposed to go. Why am I still getting these results? This is a, you know, Zell, if you really think about this book,
Hmm.
this is real life. Like that is why I love the Bible. Like it is literally a living word. It
Hmm.
will walk you through the things that you're experiencing in life. Like you can be in a very bad season, and you can see people engaged in all kind of wickedness flourishing around you, and you will ask yourself, Most High, I can't even hardly pay my bills. I can't go to the doctor. Or I can't do whatever it is you feel like you need to do, but these people who are out here engaged in all this other nonsense, they flicking it up, you know.
Hmm. Absolutely. I mean, and you are 100% right. I mean, because I've definitely had my days when I felt like that. And I had to go back and say, okay, you know what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And all I
Yeah,
can do is trust that you know what you're doing and leave it alone. And just, and whatever it is you want from me, I'll let you handle them, and then you'll handle me. You know what you're doing, and it's easy. All that is easier said than done. I'll be the first one to say that, because you
it
sit
is.
back and yeah.
Go ahead.
No, and I'll be the first one to say that, because you sit back and you see what's going on with other people, and you want to see them, get whatever is coming to you, but you gotta get whatever's coming to them. But you gotta say, you know what, I can't have that attitude.
Right.
I can't focus on them. I got to focus on my own soul salvation, and leave that alone. And that is all of that is growth. I mean, that's stuff you got to learn, you got to grow, and you got to work on, and just let other people deal with whatever their struggles are going to be. But it can be frustrating when you feel like, because I'll have my days when I sit back and wonder, why does it feel like everything is a fight? I got
Mm-hmm.
to struggle for every little thing. Nothing just comes to me. I don't, nothing ever just falls. Or if it does, I certainly don't see it that way. It feels like I have to work so hard for every little thing,
And people think
and
those cliches are, when you say that you have to work 10 times as hard as your white counterpart. That's not just an
hmm
expression. Like it's serious. So like what you're saying, that's not hyperbole. That is real. Like I have to be better than everybody because
exactly.
any mistake I made, they're ready to pick it apart and destroy me because they don't want you there in the first place.
Exactly. But you know what that did for me though? Now here I am years later, and I really know my stuff. I
Mm-hmm.
really understand the things that are going on. So in the short term, it was a problem, but now here I am years later, and there's so much that I learned because I learned how to do it the hard way. I really fought and moved through all of that, and it all worked out for me, better in the long run. So there's a lot to be gained from doing though, from fighting, from building those muscles, because you fought through things and you struggled and you did the stuff that nobody else wanted to do. It can work out for you
Oh man,
whereas everyone else
good
may be
word.
struggling. Hmm.
Yeah, no, I was just feeling what you're saying. You just said a word
Mm,
because of all this, I've learned so many things about the process, the procedures, about being a leader, about administrative work, what it should look like, what it shouldn't look like, and how you should conduct yourself. But if
mhm.
I was like, well, did I have to get it this way? But as I build my own organization, I know now because I'm living, I've lived it.
Mhm.
So what you're saying is right, and it made you a better leader because now you
It
know.
has.
Mhm. But
You're
it
absolutely
doesn't
right. It
feel
definitely
that way
has.
in the moment.
No, it doesn't.
It hurts. It's painful.
You're absolutely right. And but then what happened? You end up so much further down the road, and then when you try to tell someone else this is what you need to do, nobody wants to do it. Nobody wants to feel that, go through the fire, but everybody wants to be pure gold.
Yeah,
But nobody wants to go through the fire. But that's how you get there. That's really how you get there.
yeah. You just got that gold coating. You're that gold overlay. You're not solid gold because you didn't want to go through the forge. And we're going to get back to on the Renaissance Woman, the building of the forge, the Renaissance Woman show. We left off with that, but I'm going to say that the watch the posture, the position that you're in. This came in word. This is a word in due season for me because it just let me know to watch my positioning and make sure, just like he left room for correction, that I leave room for the correction that's going to come too. And you examine myself. Yes, examine the systems. And I'll say, especially for the people who are following the hostile work environment system, examine the system, analyze the system, know the system, know your rules. You need to know your rules just like you need to know the commandments, know the rules. So you know what you can. If you are going to break a rule, you do it intelligently. You understand? Breaking it out of ignorance is not going to help you. So
Mm-hmm.
examine the system and also examine yourself. And that's why he left room. He raised. So like here we are. He's wrestling and he's asking like, how long? He's asking the most high, how long. He like about the song, how long has this been going on? But how long are we supposed to endure? And I do think as people of faith, we do feel that at times like, how long are we going to have to endure this wickedness, this wicked country, this wicked world, and all the unrighteousness that we see before us? And when God's response to him, he did not sanitize for him. He didn't give him platitudes and think, oh, they're going to get their turn. He didn't do all that. He didn't try to make it better for him. And I think that is something that we fall, that especially people of faith, that we this is a great. These three chapters are so you can get so much from it. Stop playing with yourself because I can honestly say that whenever some one door has closed, yes, another one has opened because God has a vision. He has a mission for me. That is true. But that's not going to stop the world from being wicked. And so we need to understand that. And that is just a part of it that we have to accept that we can't fix this. It's going to take him to fix this. And we need to accept our role and play, as my husband likes to say, play your position. You know,
Mm-hmm.
his first complaint is not unbelief. It is a faithful protest directed towards God, and he refuses to sanitize what he sees. So even asking, and so this is to show you too that it is not a sin to ask God questions like, God, why? But can you wait on the answer?
Mm-hmm. Will you accept it when it comes?
And that part too. So God's first answer didn't comfort him. And what he didn't know was God was already working. But he let him know that he was going to use the Chaldeans, who were more ruthless than Judah, as an instrument of judgment, and that enlarges Habakkuk's problem because when I talked about that earlier, when the Most High told him, "I'm going to use them to chastise you all, and Babylon to chastise you all," and he's like, "Wait a minute, that that did not compute your
Like
ways.
what?
You're not gonna understand his ways, and it's not for you to understand. And so, and it does not mean you're gonna always receive an answer that's fair or that you want to receive. You're not gonna. A lot of times, things are gonna happen to you that you're gonna say, "This is not fair, Lord. Why is this happening? You know this ain't right." And what was done to Israel, the suffering and the torture and the being carried away, that was harsh, but it was because of their sin, right? And
Mm-hmm.
they're being unrighteous. Because here's the thing: if you are the leader and you are God's chosen, you are going to be held more accountable than them, and that's the hard
Exactly.
part.
You're the first one. You're the
You're going to
first
be the
one that's
first
gonna
one
have
to
to
get
do
the ass whooping.
it. Exactly, because everybody else is following you.
You are the leader, and it's just like at home, the oldest one gets it first because you
Mm-hmm.
were supposed to be showing them how to behave, and it's
Mm-hmm.
appropriate, I would say, professionally as well. when it comes to certain workplace situations, the leader should be held accountable, even more so than a subordinate in a lot of cases, because you yourself in a certain way. So for me, I feel like I'm going to do my job or whatever I'm doing to the best of my ability. And if I'm wrong, I want to be able to, I always pray that the Lord helps me remain humble to where I can receive instruction from my husband and at work when warranted, right? And a lot of times that humbleness is hard. It's hard to be humble because if you're a person like me, I got a big mouth and I want to talk all the time. But I know the Most High blessed me with a righteous husband who is a great leader. You know, he sees things in a way that I don't see, and it brings balance, a balance that is needed. And I think even in the workplace, you need those kind of balance
Mm,
too. You got to have somebody who is the reasonable one. You know, and
right.
that's why I don't have any for people because being having been in law enforcement, when I see a lot of these policing situations, I don't have the level like how Tatum made the excuse for the officers that were punished along with Chauvin. I don't have that
Mm,
kind of compassion for them in a sense of I want to see something bad for them, but they have to be held accountable too because your oath is to protect and serve. And when you saw him, even though that is your superior, when you saw him going beyond what was net reasonable, right? What a reasonable
mm-hmm,
if the crowd was able to identify that he was killing the man, you saw it too and you said nothing.
mm-hmm,
You did nothing. So all of them should have got spanked first because in that the you were more responsible than the citizens. It is your job to take control of the scene, command and control. That means that whole crime scene is your responsibility. The safety of the
mm-hmm,
citizens, that's your responsibility. When George Floyd was in your custody, his life was literally in your hands. Once you put those cuffs on somebody, once you put them in that car, they are literally your ward and you have
mm-hmm,
the most responsibility. So when people be out here defending the police, it just looks like a stupid position to me because just like how the Bible told Adam he was the responsible one, when an officer arrives on the scene, you are the responsible one. You don't get to show up and say, "Oops, I made a mistake" or "I got upset."
mm-hmm.
No, you need to be punished just like Adam and Eve were punished. And that's again, this is where Habakkuk is wrestling with these things. And then he remembers who God is. Art thou not from everlasting, O God of mine, Holy One? His question seems to be in his it's like first you say you you know the Israelites are supposed to be punished. But what you're doing is so watch the positioning. He does what a lot of us do because we don't like accountability.
Mm-hmm.
But they did it too. But they did it worse than we did. And if you're holy, why don't you devour them first, and then maybe you come back and deal with us later? But look, you know, and don't we do that to them?
Oh,
But
so true, so true. But you're the example though. So that guess what? They're gonna start at the leader first and
mm-hmm,
then work their way down. They can't start with the other people and then the lead. That it wouldn't even make it right for that to happen. It's gotta start at the head. And I don't think if we're gonna be the light, the example, then that means it's gonna be the example in everything, including punishment.
that's right.
So I don't think people stop and really think about that. You can't get the good and not expect the bad that's gonna come with it. Just say, hey, I will punish. Everybody is going to be punished. If you do this thing, and if the head is doing it, that head is gonna get punished, and then work your way down. You start with that ring leader. That's the one you deal with first. And versus just going to everybody else and then the ringleader, then nobody's gonna follow the ringleader. If that's the
Exactly.
case, nobody would ever follow because you can't. Because hey, if they're not doing something you like, well, I'm not trusting that. Because they can, because no, and nobody's gonna hold that person accountable. Why would I trust that?
A house that is divided will fall. And so
Mhm.
leadership, it is you, while you do make sure alignment, you correct the corrupt leader, correct them immediately
Mhm.
because it's like the man with the talent. You'll have a wicked one that just went and buried the money and not do what they're supposed to do. You have a lot of people in leadership who have talents, and the talents are their team, and they bury the talent.
Mhm.
And when, but what leadership isn't doing, they're not coming in and they're dealing with the leader that buried the talent the way they need to be dealt with, and that is how
Mhm.
I work investor and they grow. It does start at the top. The correction has to come at the top. But if you aren't doing your job as a leader, it's kind of like you're leaving the people who are trying to serve and do what they're supposed to do. So in an organizational sense, you're leaving them with no recourse.
Mhm.
And so that's why everything is askew because it's out of order. It's out of order.
Yes.
And that's why most organizations fail. You fail because you're out of order. The Bible gives
Mm.
us perfect order. It shows us what it should look like, and you won't even adhere to it. And when things are wrong, like even as a leader, you can wrestle with it, just like he's wrestling with it with God. So, what do you think about this? So, honest wrestling says, Lord, help me understand this. But prideful wrestling says, my interpretation must be the whole truth. That is something I can say as an employee.
Mm.
We all have done. And yes,
Mm.
your employer will gaslight you to death, even when they know you're right. However, you still have to keep to the code. What did the Bible say? Be angry and sin not. There are many times
Mhm.
that I know what I'm saying is right based on the manual. Not that I'm right for righteousness' sake, but what does the book say? And that's how I try to judge things
Mm.
with spiritually by the volume of the book. And I'll try to apply that at work too. Well, what do the rules say? And sometimes when you're dealing with unrighteousness, you're not going to receive the right answer. And can you sit with that? Like, how do you sit with that? What do you do with it?
Mhm.
You have to pray. And that's the part where we don't. And so this is the position we have to see Habakkuk take. He has to submit himself to the Most High. And what does he do? He prays. He watches and he prays. And so this is what I'm learning that in my season now, that this has to be my position now. From here on out, my position has to be watch, be ye watchful, be ready, and pray, and sin not. Worship keeps conviction from becoming self righteousness. See, when you humble yourself, if I put myself in
Mm.
this position to stay humble and to receive the correction, because there is a lesson in all of this.
Mhm.
It may not because like I could not understand any of it when I was going going through just going through as I go through the weight gain the stress, and we still have to review that video that I was telling about where those ladies are talking about being in a hostile work environment and the hair loss and the weight gain. This is the largest I've ever been in my life, and
Mm.
now just coming to as I've been praying and meditating and just trying to get. I was like I have to ask the Lord to renew in me and bring in me a new spirit. And that's something
Mm.
I'm working on right now to just help me reclaim my life, myself again, because being in a hostile work environment it is traumatizing. I like when I say that I have been traumatized, I have no words for it. But I do
Mm.
know that God has a purpose, and he'll make it clear to me when in his season, not my. So this is what Habakkuk has to deal with too. This is not going to go according to your timing. This is going to be in his timing. So guess what? Habakkuk understood that he. So if you go to Habakkuk 2, he says, "I will climb upon my side." Now this is reading from. We normally use the King James version, but
Mhm.
I want to my watchtower now and wait and see what the Lord will say and how He will answer my complaint. So I have to climb up on my watchtower and see how the Lord is going to handle my complaint.
Mm-hmm.
Wait on the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
Remain at your post. You don't get to fall off because you having hard times. And we know they spreading just like the flu. Watch out.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy, don't let it catch you. Listen, hard times are real, okay? You're gonna go through it. But you have to watch. And waiting is not passivity. That didn't mean Habakkuk had to go stand around and do nothing. He still had to follow the law, statutes, and commandments. He still had to do his job. He didn't get to abandon his assignment. If you know the Most High put it in you, like I have a mission to finish building this organization that I'm building. If that was put in us to do. Well, while I'm waiting, I don't get to because I'm waiting on the Lord. I'm see what God's gonna do. I should still be working. So he didn't abandon his assignment because the answer was delayed. He kept doing what he was supposed to do, and he remained watchful and prayerful. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Faithful waiting means stay attentive without running ahead of God. You that is hard. Easier said, because you know us, when stuff starts going wrong, I'm gonna fix it. I'm gonna make some stuff happen. You know what? I'm gonna do this. You think you're gonna come up with all these ideas and you want to stuff, but you sometimes you just gotta stand and you
You
gotta
gonna
stand in
fix
the
it?
conviction. Yeah,
Is that
I'll
what
fix
Sarah?
it.
That what Sarah did? Was trying to do? I got an
I'm
idea.
gonna do it.
Here's my
I'm,
idea. Started a whole mess.
I'm telling you, be still and wait on the Lord. Waiting on the Lord is one of the hardest things to do because you
Oh
want to fix
goodness,
it.
yes.
You want to fix it. You want to be the one but you can't outpace God. This is gonna happen in His time, okay? And
Mm-hmm.
that's hard because it don't look. It's not sexy. It's not glamorous. It's not blinged out. It's not all of that. And so what God does is He makes the vision plain. God tells Habakkuk to write the vision clearly enough that a reader may run with it. Revelation carries responsibility. So when He gave him the revelation, He told him, okay, this is what's going to happen. Now write it down and be clear. In our case, we are clear because we have the scripture. We have the word. See, this He
Hello, Ren.
more than we want the things of God. Am I right?
Mm.
I want that car. I want that house. I want that look. I want those clothes. You're more concerned with the things of the world than you are the things of God. And that's why that ass is
Mm.
spanked.
And don't know why.
You as a leader, you have to communicate with what God has given you and what you receive. You have our role, our purpose is kingdom first, right? So we have a responsibility to convey this message. And it doesn't matter if you never get anybody watching. The word is going forth. I say with the Sabbath, this has to happen, whether they're watching or not, because this is what my
Mm-hmm.
assignment is. So if they don't come and they don't sit and they don't receive, or if they watch it later, whatever they do with it, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. And that's why when go back to this scripture here, this slide here, you see him stand, he's on his post. You stay on your post, soldier, and look at him. How is he? He is in a position of watchfulness. He is in a position of readiness. He's watchful. He's not drunk. He's not lazy. He's doing what he's supposed to do. He's not
Mm-hmm.
drugged out. He ain't fitting all out. He ain't sitting up watching a bunch of big booty. But you get the point. You 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 have got to be
Mm-hmm.
the example. You have to lead by example, and you have to show them what serving this God looks like. And here's the part that's unsexy, showing people what serving this God looks like when you going through it. Remaining faithful
Mm.
when you having a hard time. When I'm going through shit, like how do I keep it together? When I'm mad right now. Like they over there winning, they getting raises, they giving these people all kind of money. They got me over here with this. What? This isn't fair, Lord. Be angry, but sin not.
Mm.
His delay is not
Exactly.
indifference. God's delay is not indifference. It's Him moving in His time, on His timeline, not yours. The vision has an appointed time. Okay? It didn't mean that God was ignoring the violence. He saw the Chaldeans, He saw the Babylonians, and He told him, I'm going to deal with them, but right now, I'm spanking Israel. Or first. What do you look like? How are you showing up? Hmm? We're very
Mm.
arrogant. We show up. We decide. Cause I think I know. I think I know some stuff, right? I think I know what I'm talking about.
Oh, you know what that makes me think about?
What?
When you said that, it made me think about when you fast, how you're not supposed to fast and put on sackcloth and ashes and walk around sad. You're supposed to get up, put oil on your hair and your face and look good and not, even though you may be fasting and going, it shouldn't be a performance for everybody else to see and everybody else to know. You should be, this is something that's supposed to be happening with you and your correction and your
Exactly.
growth, and that's not for everybody else to see. It's not everybody else's business. And it's just like, yeah, yeah. It's not a performance.
And what you see, it looks like they're winning. But at the end of the day, you'll see what it looks like, what their idols, because this is idolatry. All that we see is all this is
Hmm.
vanity and vexation. And you, our God is not an idol. Our God is real. Okay? And so we know that
Hmm.
violence and dishonesty and idolatry, the power, it looks like they're winning, like they have power now because we see them, they're in the high places. They got the money, they got the things. But the wicked, while they may have momentum, they don't have the final word. God has that. So my husband always says, we going to see in the end. We going to see. And so me, I'm hedging my bets on the Most High. I don't know anybody else, but like, I'm going to hedge my bets right here. You know,
Absolutely.
Habak, he was just disappointed, and he just felt like, when are they going to be held accountable? When are they going to receive their just due? Because like Israel is going through, we going through. When are they going to get theirs? But then he had to remember that God is still in His holy temple. The noise, the boasting, the
Hmm.
power of injustice have not removed God from His throne. He is still there, and He is still there today, y'all. He's still on His throne, and He sees all the things that are going on here. But it is not
Mm.
our timeline. It is not going to be when we've decided we're tired, Lord, so go on and come and take care of this. It's going to be at His appointed time. And there is an appointed time for all of this. Oh, worship is the posture that brings inside every part of the process. So, that belongs in every part of the process.
Mm.
When you're watching, when you're praying, even when you're wrestling and you're challenging God, you stay humble and worship. You worship Him, and I think that's the other thing that we're not doing. We talk about God, we talk at God, but are we worshiping Him? We watch
Mm.
with worship. We wrestle with worship. We wait with worship. And then worship even if the field is still barren. That means if you don't reap a harvest, if all for all the prayer and worship, you feel like I done all this, you keep on worshiping.
Yep.
It's not at your appointed time. That's the discipline, right? Your
Hmm.
complaint, they become prayer. You pray, you tell the Most High what you're going through. You talk about it with him, and He's going to hear you, and He's going to give you the answers. But here's the thing: you're not going to always like the answers, and that's why I like Tabak
Hmm.
because he did not like the answer. He didn't like what he received. So God's not going to give him his preferred outcome, and so he comes to understand that, and there has to be acceptance with it. So for those of us on this walk, there has to come the acceptance, just like Habakkuk had to come to accept that the world was not going to change and be what he wanted it to be. We are going to have to come to that same understanding. And Habakkuk 3, chapter 3, 1 and 2 says, "In wrath, remember mercy."
Mm.
So remember, God is merciful, and all this that is going on, and no matter how upset you get, He's still on His throne, and He
Mm.
is going to have the final say, not you. He's not going to. It's not. This isn't Burger King, okay? We don't get to have it our way, and that is
No.
hard. So
Absolutely.
keep the position of worship. Keep the
Hmm.
position of prayer and meditation. And what meditation means is you are going to have to sit in dealing with things that make you uncomfortable. And that's one of the things, I think that's also one of the reasons why it's hard for people to faith to practice their faith, because you don't, it doesn't, it's not sexy, it doesn't look right, it doesn't look, you don't get everything you want. We see people playing at worship. We see people playing at righteousness, and we say, well, what about me? Worship,
Mm.
watch, wrestle, pray.
And one of the things that I have learned, and I mean, I still have to fight with it today sometimes, is that, you know, when I say, you know what, well, maybe they can do those things, but that's not the charge I've been given. I can't do
Mm-hmm.
those. There are certain things I can't do. There are places I can't go. There's stuff I don't need to eat. Somebody else might be able to eat it. I can't. Somebody else might be able to wear it. I
Yeah.
can't focus on what other people can or can't do and what they're doing. I know what I've been given. I know what my charge is, and I have to walk in that. And that's all I can really focus on. And sometimes that is not an easy thing to know and understand.
Mm-hmm.
But I always see the fruition, see when I see it come to fruition, it always works out for my good. It works out better for me
Yeah.
in the end. But I really have to remind myself I can't do what everybody else does. And that's actually a good thing. I'm not meant to do what everybody else has going on. I got a different path, you know and that's
And you're
just it.
gonna
That's
see,
it.
yeah, and you're gonna see things, you're gonna experience things in your life that are going to trouble you, that are going to shake you to your core, but you're gonna have to be still. So when we go to chapter 3 in Habakkuk, verse 16. I trembled inside when I heard all this. My lips quivered with fear, my legs gave way beneath me, and I shook in terror. I will wait quietly for the coming of the day when disaster will strike. Oh, hold on, I'm sorry. I will wait quietly for the coming day. I will wait quietly for the coming of the day when disaster will strike the people who invade us. Even though the fig trees have no blossoms and there are no grapes on the vines, even though the oil crop fails and the vines lie empty and barren, even though the flocks die. Do you hear all of these things that are
Mm,
befalling them? The cattle barns are empty. Yet I will rejoice in the Lord. I will be joyful in the God of my salvation. The sovereign Lord is my strength. He will make me as sure footed as a deer and bring me safely over the mountains. So, after you endure it all and you see it all, you understand it all, we understand that this is a barren, desolate land. consumed with wickedness and iniquity, you still have to stand. Even when you can't, the job is not producing, or you're not finding a job, even if the bills aren't getting paid, you have to stand and rejoice in the Lord. You keep the position of worship, and that's what he sees. There were no flocks, no fruit, no herds in the field, but he still said that I'm going to rejoice in the Lord.
Mm.
Biblical gratitude begins with the truth, acceptance of the truth. Stop lying to yourself. I think we do that more
Mhm.
so than anything because we want things to be what we want them to be. Accept the truth, the reality that you're dealing with, and still watch and rejoice in the Most High. Receive Him, and you let the rest, and the rest of it will take care of itself. So I wanted to talk a little bit about what Habak teaches us about leadership, and what we see clearly here is that for us, it is not for us. Well, even though we see it, and Zell, I wrestle with this a lot because I see even older people who I know stay in the church, and just people we come to start accepting things that we know run antithetical to the Bible.
Yeah.
We accept certain conduct, ways of living that we know are not godly. You cannot normalize dysfunction, violence, and wrong judgment. And to accept it is to be an enemy of God. You are running in direct opposition to the Most High.
Right.
So just because everybody, even for the people who do still go to church and you believe, you're not supposed to be dressed like that in no church. I'm seeing videos of people in church twerking, dressed like they supposed to be at church. That's not of God. That's not godly.
Mhm.
We've normalized dysfunction to the point that now y'all done took it into what y'all call the house of the Lord.
Mhm.
You do not normalize dysfunction, and you stay teachable. And that means you need to be able to be corrected. If you can't be corrected, then you don't want to be loved. Well, because the Bible said that God corrects those who He loves, right, Zell?
Yep, absolutely.
So if you can't be corrected, you don't want to be loved. I want to be loved. So I'm in a
Mm.
sense, I will accept the correction, and I'll say this: I will remain at my post, and you have to remain in choice. Remain at your post. Communicate plainly. Do not let delay produce bitterness and impulsive action. Let me tell y'all something. One of the things that people say about me a lot is it's like you are very direct. For me, and they try, and it's not meant in a positive way. People like to think directness is something bad. Directness is a kindness to me, and
Mhm.
let your yays be yay and your nay be nay, because
Mhm.
anything else still lies at the door. You are supposed to communicate plainly, truthfully, clearly, because all that other wordsmithing and playing that people like to do, that is sinful.
Mhm.
Why, if it's right, you just say it, right?
Exactly. All the other stuff, it's all manipulation, mixing truth and lies. All manipulation.
So going forward for you, the lesson for you all this week while you're out and you're moving around and you're experiencing things and you're wrestling with things, I want you to remember to ask yourself these questions when you're looking at things on social media. What am I? What am I? What am I consuming so much of that now when I see it, it's normalized to me, and or is it interpreted through fear? What are you? Because the direct opposite of love is fear. Am I moving in love? Am I moving in fear? Is the
Mm.
behavior that I'm watching, does it become holiness? If when you look at these videos or the things that you're consuming, is it behavior? Are they behaving in behavior that becomes holiness? And have you consumed so much of it that now you just have normalized it in your mind. If it is, it's time
Mm.
for a renewal. It's time for you to wrestle and wait and seek God's will. So those are
Mm.
just some things I want you all to think about. And we talk about, people. A lot of times things that are true and that we need to do, they start becoming cliches. But taking a position of gratitude and worship are important. Every day I wake up, the first thing I say is thank you. And listen, when somebody's
Mm.
going through stuff, don't hit them with that "don't worry, be happy" bullshit, because nobody wants to hear that when they're going through it. If you're going to be there for them and sit with them in it. Because this goes back to accepting the truth. This is what Habakkuk had to do. He had to sit in it. He had to sit in it and accept what he is. And that's what we all are going
Mhm.
to have to do. Stop playing with yourself. Stop lying to yourself. Tell yourself the truth. And more
Mm.
importantly, be watchful. Be ready. Watch, wrestle, wait, worship. Those are the words for today. Watch without denial. Don't deny the truth. Stop trying, like some of you are looking at people in your lives right now and you know the situation isn't right. You know you should not be allowing this conduct to go on. You know you should
Mm.
not be in this type of relationship, but you are denying it because you don't want to accept the truth. Wrestle without turning away. I would say, even with the situation where, these celebrities, when they're talking about these certain celebrity affairs, if that's behavior that becomes holiness. You
Mm.
turn these people into your idols, but if are you watching without denial? The reason why most people aren't direct is because you're liars. And
Mm.
I know you are just calling me a liar, but we're all liars, right? And so we have to catch ourselves. The Bible says that every man is a liar. Let God be true and all men are liars. So I know that I have to watch myself. That's why we have to 2 Corinthians 13:5, right?
Mhm.
Examine ourselves. And part of that means we watch without denial. Don't deny the things that you see in yourself that you know aren't right. Look at yourself without turning away and stop trying to get ahead of God and wait for Him to give you the answer. And make sure you stay in a position of worship and prayerful. The final verse, He says, "The Lord is my strength." I think that's that's all I got.
And that's all we need.
So thank you for watching and sharing this time with us. Long live the King. All praises to the Most High and His only begotten Son. Shalom.